Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about Anthony Davis. He's, of course, fighting for his playoff life. Much has been said about how he hasn't played well on this channel as of late, on the offensive end, the defensive end. In the last game, I thought he made some spectacular plays, blocking the ball particularly. He was really, really dominant there. And so that's how I guess I'll start the conversation. I want to be able to behold his game the right way or be able to take in what it is that he does the right way. And it's hard to, a lot of the time, when you're looking at the fullness of all that goes on. It's the absences with injury, and then you have the games where he's going crazy for 57 points and 17 boards and 4 blocks and 3 steals and missed like 1 free throw, that kind of thing. And then you'll have games where he has like he did last game, where we really, really needed him to win. And he went 15 points, 4 blocks, 5 turnovers, 10 rebounds, on like 5 of 16 or 5 of 17 shooting or something like that. Not very good for what we needed. And so, we want to say that since he's so responsible for both sides of the floor, he takes up a great deal of what it is that you do there. When he doesn't have a good game on the offensive end, it's easy to say that he didn't have a good game, but he might have done everything for you defensively. And that's what is hard to take in regards to Anthony Davis. Foul trouble may determine how well he can handle things on the defensive end sometimes, how aggressive he can be. That might affect what he's doing in terms of how aggressive he'll be and how much you can expect from him defensively. So it's so tricky to look at a guy who's capable of putting up numbers greater than most ever, have tough games, put up barely any numbers in a game where you really need him to win, and then you look at the 4 blocks and you realize he was a dominant player. If somebody else would have played defense the way he did, you give him all the praises, probably give him the game ball. You know what I mean? It's like literally that. So it's like with Anthony Davis, it's just very difficult for me. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but it's just difficult for me to really look at him and say that I really know what I'm looking at from night to night, and as it pertains to whether or not I should be pleased with his performances. It's a lot to look at. It's extremely difficult to say, because he may go off and go for 50 points. You win the game by 30. He might do that again the next night, because there were times in New Orleans where he would have weeks at a time where he would just go up and score over 37 points, like 37, 42, 37, 52, 57, 48. It was like he was doing that. And so it's like, what I want the Lakers to do is find those stretch of times during his years in New Orleans. Find those times and study where New Orleans was getting him the ball, man. And I always reference the idea that my team should be studying, just looking at film or other things, because I really do believe that's where you're going to get your best ideas, is in the past. This game has been played a million different ways, so you got to see what others did to give you the best ideas. It can't just be, okay, we're in this era and then studying what's around you. No, you got to restudy what other guys aren't doing as well as what they're doing, so you can give yourself more options. And that's what I don't see, is enough options. I'm watching Anthony Davis, and it's like, throughout the game of the Dallas game, on the offensive end, it seemed to me that he was getting his touches in the first half. He was just bricking shots, and so naturally he just kind of got away from it. And then other offensive players stepped forward. It's that kind of thing. So it's difficult to really be certain of how he ends up walking away with a game like that with only 15 points, or how he can walk away with a game with 8 points, or he can walk away with only 5 attempts, stuff like that. It's hard to even understand how that happens, because you'll see him get started shooting the ball. You'll see him be the guy we try to force the ball to in the first half, and it's like, it's very, very important for guys like Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Troy Brown, basically who's ever on the floor with AD, to get at least one pass to him while you're down there. That should be a team goal. Everybody assists to AD once. And if we can get that to be a team goal, I think we can kind of limit some of these issues where he's walking away with only minimal attempts. Now we can't do nothing about him attempting 17 shots and only hitting 5 of them. It's just a cold night, so that's not the greatest reflection of what it is we're trying to fix. But maybe some of those other games where he walks away with only like 8 attempts and 5 attempts, and we'll go the whole fourth quarter without seeing him get the rock. I just don't want us to be deterred by him missing a few shots and get away from him offensively, thinking that he can't hit the next 12 in a row. You know what I mean? It's not like, and I want to say this, it's not like he's Malik Beasley where you're going to let him shoot and he's going to keep on bricking. You got to give your Pantheon great enough looks so that you can get him in a rhythm that takes advantage of his strengths. Because at the end of the day, he's a hell of a player. But I just think we haven't had him on the floor enough to perfect his offensive skill set within our roster, especially since we have new guys. Trying to get him his touches versus trying to make our team play cohesive is just turning out to be very difficult on the offensive side. But we do need his scoring production, and we do need him to be in rhythm down the stretch of these games. So I just think we need to do a better job of getting him the ball, and he needs to do a better job, of course, as we always say, of asking for it and making an intent on not being comfortable with other people shooting too much around him. I love the fact that we'll get Troy Brown a couple looks. I love the fact that Malik Beasley, when he's hot, can hit 8 threes. That's awesome. I love the fact that, Austin Reeves is now starting to gain confidence and can get 7 and 8 looks, in a quarter. Like, that's great. I like that. I want him to take those steps forward. I love that D'Angelo Russell can get hot, methodically pick teams apart with consecutive possessions going his way. A lot of that stuff, Schroeder, consecutive possessions, getting to the line, driving at the basket. Maybe he can hit a couple threes like he did in the last game. These are things where it's like you love that you got players who can all contribute on their own, and it's really, really good. But except for you can't lose sight of the fact that you do have a Pantheon great on the floor, despite having a bunch of aggressive role players around him. The passive superstar must be what everything revolves around, and so that's what I have to say about that. I think the team probably would be better if they don't necessarily waver from what it is that makes them comfortable, meaning you don't want Dennis Schroeder passing up opportunities to get his shot when he can comfortably score to force AD the ball just to get double teamed or triple teamed. One thing we have to give the credit to is the defense that we've been seeing, who've been crowding Anthony Davis quite a bit and making things uncomfortable for him, which is why I want us to try to get him the ball closer to the basket. Now, I do have to amend what I'm saying by, making it clear that I was listening to the Kaminsky brothers, and they were saying essentially him catching the ball in the block is less accurate for us than, with him more or less catching the ball on the high block and kind of, operating from there. Seems like the closer he is to the basket, the easier he is to defend, it seems, according to what they're saying, depending on where he's catching it. So I just want us to try to study that and try to find a sweet medium for ourselves, because I do believe that him catching this ball in his spots further away from the basket is ultimately why he ends up taking less percentage shots that don't often fall. He's a hell of a jump shooter, but I just feel like with him having the length that he does, you want things going toward the rim, not away from it. So however that works is the way to go. Obviously pick and rolls and things like that, we got to continue to let D'Lo get him in a pick and roll. I don't think we run that enough. Obviously, with D'Lo being cold lately, you kind of want to use other guys. So you want Schroeder on the floor. You want Austin on the floor. So whatever the case, but I do think D'Lo, AD pick and roll should be something we're trying to work on today tomorrow against the Phoenix Suns, and Austin Reeves as well. Run that pick and roll for Anthony Davis. Let him set good, easy picks, and that's another thing. He has got to make sure that he stays put on those picks. Don't spin too soon. They call those fouls. And those are fouls we can't afford for him to pick up because of his defensive responsibilities. And that's another thing that's very important. I want Anthony Davis to work on valuing himself in regards to not picking up easy, stupid fouls. That's where he's really lost his mojo, in my opinion. This season, he has not managed foul trouble and stayed out of foul trouble as well as he needs to. He's picked up more ticky-tack, hand foul, touch fouls, like I said, fouls on picks and stuff like. He's picked up more of those fouls than you would want your superstar to pick up this year. And for him to be missing as much as he does, when he's down there again, it accentuates the importance of him doing things correctly. So that's why people don't have a lot of patience. If he was playing 82 games, we would have more opportunities to see him play great. But since he's only playing 40 games a season, we can't have 20 of those games where he's not up to par. And that's what he needs to be able to understand, like fully. You just don't play enough for us to be putting up with less than stellar stuff for what you're making and what it is our expectations are. It just is what it is. I don't write the book. I'm just a messenger. But that's what I have to say. I think the likelihood that Anthony Davis gets traded in the offseason is increasing, man. It's increasing. It's not looking any better for him because people are losing faith in him being able to win the games we need to win. And you couple that with the absence, etc. It's just you just feel a lot better if you just turn him into a multiple assets that are more sturdy. And that goes whether he's playing great or not. So with him not playing great, it just further reinforces that. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think Gene Lee's like intent on trading Anthony Davis. I don't believe so. But I think maybe there would be some voices in the organization who are looking at things the way I am, who probably would be. I think it's that kind of thing. I don't think Jeannie actually wants to. Just my gut telling me that. I think she would love to keep Anthony Davis on this team. But I think the Knights of the Round Table, a couple of them dudes, there's probably like, you know what? This Anthony Davis experiment is too risky. And I have to lean on that side of the fence. It just is, man. It's just too risky, man. He's a heck of a player. He's definitely going to be worthy of putting up number 3 in the rafters. But he can't be trusted to stay healthy. And so I like to think he can figure out all this other stuff that we're talking about so his time on the floor can be much more appreciated, you know. That's what I hope. And also they could, of course, stay healthy. Have a real good 82-game season where he plays every game possible. And so that's what we hope as well. They did say that they were going to play him in back-to-backs down the stretch of this season. That's very encouraging. I don't say that with sarcasm either. I think that's, you know, when you watch people make real bad chess moves and then you scream into the camera for them to get it right and then they decide to do the thing that you asked them to do, I'm not going to attach any sarcasm to that. I am happy that they've made the decision to do something that I think is going to help our team, which is allowing Anthony Davis to risk it down the stretch of this season. I'll be sad if he gets hurt in one of those games, devastated even. But I always understand that what we're doing here is trying to win. And if we can't get him down there to help us win when we need to, then all that we're doing is for nothing on our end. It's all for nothing on our end. And so you can have compassion for the player and not want him to risk things for the betterment of himself. But at the end of the day, you still have an end. You know what I mean? As the Lakers, you got some interest, and you got to have them met for the player that you're invested. So coddling, I guess would be the word, although I don't really feel that way. Holding him and load managing him, I think is a better way to put it. It's something that you do with the intention of making sure that your ultimate goal is what you're aiming for, which is to win a championship. We want to keep him healthy with the hopes of him helping us win a championship. And so with that being said, this is how we have to do that. We have to be able to lean on him down the stretch of these basketball games strategically for us to win enough games to make the playoffs or the play-in tournament. And if he doesn't play in that back-to-back, we don't have the center necessary to make us the good enough team to beat Utah, I believe it would be, or whatever the team would be before that, Clippers, I think it is. We need both of those games, obviously. So that's the understanding. And look, don't play him a full course of minutes in any of those 2 games. Not to say that is going to directly make up for the fact that he's playing in a back-to-back in regards to his injury. That's not what I understand. I'm just saying, for the sake of all things, just lower the minutes in those games any damn way. You know, humor me. Bring his minutes down about 10 or 15 minutes in each of those games just to show some sense of understanding that we are asking him to do something that medically you probably shouldn't do. Yeah, that's what it is. And look, Here's an angle that needs to be understood. It's the same thing I said about them putting us a back-to-back against the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks, making it so that LeBron James and Anthony Davis likely wouldn't play in one of those games. We got to hold the schedule makers to task. We have to. Because at the end of the day, they do a fantastic job of making it all come together mathematically. Not only do they have it so that everybody plays the people they need to play for the storylines to make sense with the year in mind, but they also have really cool ways of making things make sense in regards to anniversaries and different rivalries that they're aware of, and players that played for other teams that may be traded. They do a great job of anticipating the possibility of people being traded to certain places so that you see guys on new teams and stuff. They are brilliant. But one thing they're going to have to work into their equation is these back-to-backs. They just don't work for our league anymore. You have too many times where situations like this happen where you just can't have a guy like LeBron James go into New York one night and then go into Brooklyn the next night. You're absolutely leaving money on the table, and you're absolutely asking for the games not to be as quality as you want them to be. You know what I mean? And so on top of that, it hurts us strategically in situations like the Lakers are in, where they need to win certain games, but you didn't schedule 2 games back-to-back that they have to sit their best player in. You know, you're effectively changing the trajectory of the entire playoff picture just by slapping those 2 games together like that. So if that's not the intended result, we got to be cognizant that we stumbled into something that does not necessarily look fair. It don't look fair. You put the team in a bad situation, you put the player in a bad situation, and nobody looks at you. But me. BDF44 is definitely looking at you. Don't do that. Spread these games out. At least put a day in between these games for the betterment of some players' health. Players that you value as your most important and highest played superstars are going to need a day in between games from here on out. No more back-to-backs whatsoever. That's what I'm telling you. End it. The only back-to-backs you should see are the very first games of the season. If you want to make the Lakers play the Clippers one night and then make the Clippers play the Lakers the next night to start the season, that's the only way you should be doing back-to-backs, honestly. For the players' health, for the betterment of the viewership, for the betterment of all the fans who come to see these players once a year, buy a ticket to, a guy in Australia buys a ticket for the Brooklyn Nets versus Laker game because he thinks Bron's going to be playing 6 months from now. He gets there. He flies there. He spends $8,000 to make it all happen and is not able to see Bron at all just because you scheduled the game back-to-back. And you didn't put that in the disclaimer when he paid for the ticket, and you probably knew that was going to be the case. So that's what I want to put out there. Don't do that. You know damn well if you schedule back-to-backs, it's going to be a dang good chance that ticket ain't going to be worth half of what it is you selling it for. And let's just be real about that. So, that's what I wanted to say as well, man. Let the schedule makers continue to be great, but let's continue to add more modern needs in regards to the players' health to what it is that we're doing. If you got to add an extra 2 weeks to the game schedule, fine. But remove back-to-backs. So that's what I wanted to request, man. That's what I want to request. Also, please, rule change interest alert. Here is something I must request. 24-second shot clock inbounding situations. If the 24-second shot clock expires and the defense pulls the ball off the rim, please stop making them stop in mid-stride on a fast break, almost pulling a hamstring, so they can set the ball up out of bounds to let the defense that just messed up on the 24-second shot clock get a chance to set up properly. They ruin their offensive possession. They do not deserve to be able to set up their defense. Period. And like I said, guys going to pull in a hamstring. You're in full speed, and all of a sudden you're stopping just to reset the ball so you can put yourself in the same position to go in that direction, only, again, allowing the defense a chance to do something about it. No, you're ruining a fast break. You're stopping the course of play. And it's really for no damn reason, because a lot of times when that shot clock expires, the ball is already off the rim. So you're hearing a whistle as the rebound goes into somebody's hands. He's running, and they stop it. It's an irritation of the highest order, and I want it to cease immediately. 24-second clock sock expiration rebounds should be a play on. If they were able to get the 24-second stop, they should be able to get in transition and get an easy bucket. It's what the defense deserves. So, that's what I want to say about that, man. That's the gist of my thought. Don't know what I'm going to call this video, so I guess I'll just make this another NBA/Laker chat video. I think that's what I'll do with this one. I don't have any updates of whatsoever. Hopefully we'll sign Tony Bradley right away. I'm cool on double T. I'm cool, bro. I know he don't have a whole lot left. I hear he's in good shape. That's wonderful. I'm cool. I know he ain't going to give us much. We need a young player like Tony Bradley with some upside, and I know he can contribute in the way that we need him to. I've seen him do it for other teams. So that's who I want us to bring in. I don't want us to think too much. Get the younger guy. He can at least play up his value and be retraded for cash considerations, if nothing else. So that is my thought, man. That's it. I wish the Lakers played today. Unfortunately, we don't. But we'll wait another 24 hours, of course. Hopefully the team will sign Tony Bradley, so we'll have that player in place by tomorrow. And we're going to need him for Ayton. And we're going to need AD to step up. And him being in his feelings and not reacting well to the pressure is just further pulling us away from him. So we need him to step up, believe in himself, be confident, and let it translate to you busting through some of these very, very tough defenses that keep getting thrown at you. You're a superstar. Beat the defenses, bro. Beat the defenses. I'm applying the pressure because he makes the big bucks. And that's it. I don't care nothing about anything other than that, because at the end of the day, he's not a rookie. This ain't third year. This ain't fifth year. This ain't seventh year. None of that. This is 11 years in. And if you're hungry and you ain't satisfied with one championship, then you're going to override whatever it is that's keeping you from getting that, including bad decisions made around you. You know? Giannis ain't sitting up there complaining about his nothing. You don't see Jokic out there complaining about nothing. You don't want to see anybody of that caliber not believing in themselves and bringing that fire to the organization or getting in their feelings, because the pressure of that is applied. You know what I mean? That's what you don't want to see. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think Anthony Davis ain't really reacting well to the pressure applied to him. And that's just unfortunate, man, because we believe that he's a much greater player than that. So if he wants to be passive, if he's cool with people calling him passive, then that's just what it's going to be. He's going to be treated that way, too. And you're going to keep on seeing guys like Dennis Schroeder and Austin Reeves beat him in regards to point total. You're going to see them step forward where he refuses to. And then you're going to see Laker Nation proceed to react to it the way that we often will in situations like that, which is demanding that person be removed. So I know what's coming. I think Anthony Davis has something to prove. If he still cares to prove it, he'll do that. If he wants to continue to sulk, because that's all he's doing, then we're going to see what comes with that, and hopefully somebody else will step forward to get us a victory he refuses to give us. I don't have any patience. We got 10 more games, man. If guys don't step up and show that they got ice in their veins or fire in their heart, we're going to be going home. And it's going to be a very, very, very bad off season, because we're going to be screaming for changes. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.